Consul General Leo Herrera-Lim. We are with Consul General Leo Herrera Monserrate Lim from the Philippine Consulate General Office. Where do the Lims or the Monserrates come from, Consul General?
Well, actually, my middle name is Monserrate. That's my mother's surname. She comes from Iloilo, Miagao. And then my dad is from Zamboanga. My dad wanted to be creative, so he joined his mother's surname with his father's surname. So I got the double-barrel surname, Herrera-Lim. So it looks like there's both Spanish and Chinese.
You know, really, it's a good idea when you mention all the names of giving respect to your ancestry. That's really nice. Yes. And Consul General, why did you want to become a diplomat?
For me, I thought it would be fun. And so far I've been right. It's been fun. The privilege only to be able to serve a migrant community is great, because sometimes if you look at, say, our community, be it in Washington, D.C., Chicago, L.A., or even in London, sometimes people will stereotype our community as all composed of nurses or all composed of musicians or singers. But once you introduce them to the diversity within our community, they'll be surprised as well in terms of both the talent and the different stories of how our people find themselves where they are.
And for those future diplomats, what's your advice? We understand in your background that you studied economics and also law. Like you had these two different fields of endeavor, that you could have become a lawyer, perhaps a financial expert in a world organization, but you went to diplomacy. Can all the different degrees that people go to college for, can they be counted as an experience also, and they can become diplomats?
Well, the studies I've had is pretty much two important fields in terms of if you want to study behavior of people, an economics framework helps you in understanding the economic motivation of people, say, like why do people migrate from Philippines to, say, the U.S. in a desire to better their own lives or better the lives of their families. The economic part helps me in terms of, or my economic studies help me in that one. And then law as a study of also behavior of people in terms of whether they conform with the norms of society or not, also helps me in terms of understanding both our people as a migrant community and understanding the behavior of the whole society in terms of whether they welcome our people in terms of being the migrants and part of the community builders within every society. So for me, it's good to have studied economics and law. If I had time, I would have studied psychology as well, or social anthropology.
That's wonderful advice for those future diplomats. Now, in terms of economic development, then, as an economic expert, how would you rank the Philippines as a country towards economic development?
Well, the Philippines right now has pretty much both good fundamentals in terms of momentum, and at the same time, I think the past leadership that we had during the past 20 years, 25 years, have set in place good structures so that we are able to move our people in terms of a bigger size of our population becoming members of the middle class. I think right now with continuing emphasis both on education and inclusive growth, there's opportunity for people to grow towards having a strong middle class base, and it's up only to our people also to choose the right leaders in the coming years, so that this aspect would be good for people in terms of both the fundamentals and the structure to what they call the demographic sweet spot, wherein majority of our population would be in the working age, you'd have a strong foundation for economic growth.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we're finalizing our interview, but there are just some questions I'd like to ask you. As a legal expert, what can you say about the split ticket voting in the Philippines? Do you think it works better?
Well, I think in that regard, if I think we've lived with that experiment for as far as I can remember, wherein we don't vote for a particular party in terms of the president and the vice president. We've utilized the position of vice president as part of the check and balance within the different system. Totally different from the country where we copied our system of democracy, the U.S., wherein because of the Electoral College, both the president and the vice president would come from the same party. So I don't know. Probably your listeners or yourself, how you'd be better off whether we're in terms of judging the political system. But through the years, it's been a challenge. I think there's two views on the vice president, whether it's a spare tire or a future candidate waiting in the wings.
Mm-hmm. And going to the last segment, the Consul General, could you say in one word, how would you describe your assignment in London?
Oh, that one?
Yes.
Awesome.
Uh-huh. What about in Washington, D.C.?
Oh, that part is what I'd say, probably in one word, learning.
Mm-hmm. And in Chicago?
I have many words for being assigned in a cold weather, but probably I'd say, how do you say something that's probably I'd say it's still amazing.
Mm-hmm. And what about Los Angeles?
No judgment yet, but I'll let you know on my last day probably.
And people, of course, would be so excited to know, where will you be next time after Los Angeles?
Well, I have to serve in what they call the Home Office, Department of Foreign Affairs. I haven't received any orders yet on where they want to put me. I hope it's in a good office that I can pretty much practice what I've learned through the years.
But where would you want to be assigned again? Because I'm sure after 2 years, you will be going abroad again. Yes, in the future.
Yeah. But I have probably a list of some countries that I would want to be assigned. And if you can tell me who the next president is, I'll give you the list.
You know, it's so interesting because you have prime assignments, actually. You've gone to wonderful places. You were in London, and you were in Washington, D.C., and you were, of course, Chicago is cold, but still a wonderful state. And, of course, Los Angeles. So I guess you get the prime assignments all the time, Consul General.
And I hope my luck doesn't stop. I'm looking at some places in Europe. That's possibly good for my next.
That's what I'm praying for you, to Europe. And we'll have the next interview in Europe then, Consul General.
Yeah, you're very much invited to go there and visit me and share a meal.
But before we say goodbye, we would like to reiterate our thanks for your service for the country Philippines and for all the Filipino people living outside of the Philippines. And now, may we hear your special message?
Well, for all our kababayans, I hope in the coming days you not only watch what happens in the Philippines, but you also vote wisely. And I think the right to vote is an important right that we all have, and I hope that we factor in not just our friendship with the candidates, but what is good for the greater majority and the greater happiness of that majority. So thank you, AWEE.
Thank you so much once again for your service, Consul General Leo Herrera-LIM.
Thank you.
Thank you very much and goodbye. You've heard from Consul General Leo Herrera-Lim from the Philippine Consulate General Office in Los Angeles, California, with our special interview on public affairs. Stay tuned for more latest news developments on this program.